Alright, I got some rhododendron cuttings here. I'm a bit of a beginner at this, so this is my first year trying to do these, and some starting to root now, so I'll show you what I've done. These have rooted in, some of these in under 4 weeks, so I'm quite pleased with that, and I'll show you how I've done this. I've just done this at home and there's nothing fancy at all, and yeah, you can basically leave them to it. I put them in the box and leave them alone, no mist, no heat. So middle of summer here in New Zealand, I put these in on the 1st of January, so just after our longest day in the middle of summer, and today is the 31st, so just over 4 weeks, but I've checked these probably about a week ago and they're already forming roots, so just under 4 weeks and rooting. So I'll quickly show you what I've done. I've got, this is what I've put them in, which is just a commercial cutting mix. This one is pumice and coconut fibre. I don't know what the proportions are, but you can see in the picture there roughly, or in here, what it looks like. Lots of pumice, and it's pretty light stuff. So what I've done is put it in, I've got a tray inside a plastic tote. It's actually sitting up off the bottom, and I put a bit of water in the bottom just to keep the humidity up, and got a clear lid that goes on top and just clips on. It's not a perfect seal, although it's close to it, it's still lets a bit of air. I wouldn't say it's much, it's just not a perfect seal. And that sits under the veranda over here in permanent shade. So just in here with the other one, so you can see it's just beyond the line of where the sun comes to there. So I never let them get in full sun, but that is very light under there. Everything's white, and it does get quite warm. It'll get to 30 degrees under here, and when you open the boxes, it's actually, you can feel it's warmer inside the boxes and the ambient air, so they do get very warm, which I presume speeds up the root development. So I'm going to pull out one of these to show you, because I've just been pulling the odd one to check on them every now and then, and I know that one there, there's some roots, unless I've killed it by fiddling with it. There we go. So you can see there, probably a centimetre long, and some pretty healthy looking roots on the way there now. So I will poke that back in. So the beauty of this mix is I haven't compressed this at all. I've just tipped it into the box and wetted it, so I can, if I pull those out, I don't think I'm damaging the roots. It's very, very loose, and I've deliberately left it very loose to leave a bit of air in there. And I will poke a hole in a sec and put that back in, and hopefully it will carry on developing roots and hopefully start growing before winter. So I'll poke that back in, and I will, that particular one there, that cutting I've got in my hand, I'll put up a picture of where I got that from. So that came from a particularly large rhododendron in a church grounds on the west coast. So I've just been keeping my eyes out for any old and historical rhododendrons as I'm driving around, and that one I just grabbed a branch off it, and you'll see in the picture it's very, very big, higher than the church. It's obviously pretty old, and so it's going to be nice to preserve a few of those older historic plants. So that's where that one came from. So I'll poke him back in and put the lid on, and I will show you how I prepared these. Okay, I'll give you a look at how I'm doing these cuttings and how I'm prepping them up. I've got here a branch, a tip that I've just picked from out in the garden. Unfortunately my rhododendrons I've got growing at home here are not very flash, so there's not much, it's too dry here in the climate I'm in here for these, so These are pretty poor examples, but you can see here where the CS growth has come off, branched off, so that's the semi-ripe cutting, that's what you want there. That part hasn't gone woody, but it's still quite firm, so I'll snip that off. Secateurs. And that one's, if I focus, there we go. And that's got a flower bud on it, so I will pinch out the flower bud, get rid of that. And it's hard to see, but there's still small vegetative buds all around there underneath where that flower bud was. So I will take off these bigger leaves, snip them off, and the lower ones, and then just cut that down to size so I've got something manageable, and that's what you're left with. So what I've been doing, I'm no expert on this, but what I've been doing seems to work, is I have taken that cutting and just use the secateur as the sharp part to slice a centimetre or so off each side of the bark, just to expose that cambium. And then I have got some hand sanitizer. This stuff's just ethanol and peroxide. I don't know whether this is necessary or not, but I've been doing it anyway. And basically just coat the whole thing with that so it's wet, and fingers crossed that will kill any pathogens on there. So that's ready to go in the ground, and that's quite small. That's probably only, that'd be less than 10 centimetres altogether. So that's what I've been doing. I've been doing small cuttings like that. So they will take a lot longer to get to a decent size, but seem to be having some success with that. And then I have this stuff, rooting hormone. This one's Clonex. It says on the label it's for hardwood cuttings, but it's just the strongest one, so that's 6 grams, what does it say? 8 grams per litre of the active ingredient. You may or may not be able to read that. There we go. So that's what I've been using. And I'll just dip the bottom centimetre or so where I've sliced into there, like so. Get that drip off. And then I've just been pushing that into the cutting medium that I showed you before. I don't bother poking a hole, but you can easily poke a hole with your finger and then shove that in. And the way I've left that potting mix, I've just kept it nice and loose, just as I've poured it in there basically, so that will poke in pretty easily without having to make a hole first, and you shouldn't have to worry about bending it or breaking it. So there you go, that's, fingers crossed, if I were to plant that now, that would be rooting within a month.